All right. Welcome back to part 2 of episode 5 of Moth-Light, uh, where I think Seer is being ganged up on.
Yes, correct. We're going to attempt to get the gang back together, but Seer has to win this fight first.
I feel like Vholt's a little bit insulted that they're just completely ignoring him, but
You're also there.
right,
You're
yeah.
also there.
Oh, in the center, they're surrounding both of us.
Yeah.
No,
but Seer has knives.
No, they're not surrounding you.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, they don't care for you too much. There's a robot with knives for feet and wings, and then there is a guy with a cane.
Yeah, a limping bad liar.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Yeah, so my fighty bird son is going to do the fighty thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, desperate clash? Or are we not desperate yet?
If you're clashing, this is definitely desperate.
Okay.
And the situation is, you know what it is? I'm actually going to, do something I rarely do, but I'm actually going to raise it. Your position is going to get raised to perilous, which is to say, you're at risk of bad things happening to you. So yeah, that's the major consequence here potentially.
Gonna do it.
I'm gonna help.
Oh, thank you.
I can do it.
How are you helping, Vholt?
So, Vholt is a little bit indignant that he's just completely being ignored. But I think it's probably to his benefit because they're maybe not facing him as they're drawing weapons or preparing to make sure that Seer doesn't just take them out. They're probably quite worried about Seer. And I think Volt's going to use his first trapping. I've got this kind of electro field that he can activate. So I think he's going to hobble forward towards one of the guards, innocently, of course, and activate this little voltage field and kind of just reach out to tap this guy on the shoulder or something like that.
I like it. Go ahead and mark your. Well, I guess you have to mark stress for that, right?
Yeah, 1 stress, and I will be acquiring a mark, so I'm going to be. This is a problem for me.
We'll show that in a moment. Seer, do you want to push yourself or do anything else? There are multiple guards here, so this will probably be more than one roll. I'm going to make a clock for you that's 6 segments long.
Okay. Well, do you have a devil's bargain for me?
Yeah, you're going to be restrained.
After my attack?
Correct. As part of the fiction, but yeah.
Right, yeah. No, I get you.
Mm-hmm.
I like that, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll take that extra die. Ha! There's a crit.
Crit? Holy crap.
Well, I was rolling 5 dice.
Yeah, I guess you were. So you're going to get your effect and more. So you're going to get 3 out of these 6 ticks. Now, you did take that devil's bargain. So show me how you have an exchange with 2 of these individuals and you come out on top. I think you can take one of them out.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like?
So Vholt steps forward and electrocutes one of the people, and it distracts the other 2 because that is a distracting thing to happen. And Seer basically jumps up and blinds one of the guys with his talons.
Yes.
And is like harrying the other person when he's when one of them basically gets a hand around like one of his thighs, kind of, and yanks him out of the air.
I'm going to add to that, actually. I don't think they grab you with their hands. I think this is the one with like the weird rope. And they actually like put distance between you and toss it out, and it just like wraps. It's, you know, it's like kind of a whip kind of a situation, but they don't like make a whip motion. They just like cast it, and it just kind of, and then like do a little motion with one of their other hand, and it just like constricts you. Like you're just suddenly your arm is just enwrapped, and even as you try to like pull away, but the way it works is like it can extend with you, kind of a thing. Like they have complete kind of control of your arm at this moment, and that will put you in a tight spot. But Vholt, where I think maybe you take this is this mark is you go out to reach out and grab this guard early on in the fight, and you do it, and they're clearly in a lot of pain, and you're shocking them, but it takes way longer than you expect, and they even like they advance towards you, like they have a hand on your shoulder. You feel them like their fingers just like crushing into your shoulder, and maybe you fear for your life in this moment because they have another in their other hand. They're like holding a weapon that could do some real damage to you in the state you are. And just as like they're about to, you feel like they're about to strike you down, they pass out and like slump to the floor. So it's like that's kind of the tense situation. That
probably on top of
you.
Me.
Probably on top of you, yes. So that's the tense situation for you. But back to T.S.E.E.R, there is this one individual that you're facing off with, and they're bravely like straight. They're not just gonna let you go. Like they're gonna try their best to take you out. To kind of share in some highlight, I want to flash sideways really quickly. Kettu, you're finding your way through. You're finding your way through the structure. It's hampered by all these different doors. Would Kettu have a way to get around some of these security measures?
I mean, Kettu could definitely fit in the air vents.
Yeah. I like that.
I was just gonna mention, isn't Kettu like super small and can fit in small spaces?
We like that, and we see you dropping out of one into a larger space. But don't worry, you're part of the action too. And so as you do, a voice calls out from down the way, and Chiron steps out, and he's like, "You brought her right to us." You stepped in here just like it was nothing.
Yeah, I think I'll tell Arya to like, classic scene, like, get out of here and to like turn to fight Chiron.
Exactly. You're going to fight me. And he like goes to his hip, and he is I described one of them as having a gun last time. This is the one. Like Chiron is the one who had the pistol at his hip. It's not going to change anything. They're still going to come. And you can't stop them.
Yeah, I think... So what's going on here is Kettu does not actually want to fight, but Kettu wants to make room for Arya to get away. So I think I'll throw my last dank water balloon and see what happens.
So this turns into like a standoff kind of a thing. Are you trying? You're just trying to distract him so that you and Arya can get away? Is that kind of the deal?
Yeah, this is like the back foot fighting. You know.
Mm-hmm. So you're gonna stand your ground and fight.
Yeah, yeah. I'm engaging, but then
Excellent.
retreating. So.
Yeah. I am going to start a clock for Chiron. Also 6.
Cool.
What action do you think you're using?
Yeah, if I'm actually fighting, then clash.
You are.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, which of the 3 options are going to choose for your style?
Well, of course, they can't follow you.
That's a really good one. For this particular situation. So, Chiron, you're kind of in like a standoff, and as you draw this weapon and maybe like dive out of the way to toss it, Chiron is going to try and draw his pistol, but we'll see how well he does. You could take some harm here.
Mm-hmm.
Potentially. That might be what happens. I think this is appropriate time for that. So this is a desperate situation. Go ahead, and if you want to push yourself.
Yeah, I'll push for effect, and how about a bargain?
You want a devil's bargain in this situation? Okay. Arya doesn't leave. She won't leave your side. She refuses.
She won't leave my side, but if I'm gone, she's gone? Is it?
Correct.
Okay.
But she's not going to just escape on her own, which means her escape is up to you.
All right, sure. Okay, so that's 3. Well, okay, partial.
Okay, so standard effects, so you get 2 out of 6 there.
But I did push.
You did push. Were you pushing for effect?
Yeah.
Then yeah, that is 3 out of 6. This fighting represents more than just one toss of a water balloon, right? So that is like the opening thing. Like he's threatening you. He's expecting you to hopefully, comply. And as he sees you reach for something, he reaches for his weapon, but you've already tossed out this water balloon, and like we do get a humorous moment of like it's splashing in his eyes. Maybe there's ink or something like that, and he has to like wipe it away. But he's like blind firing some distance away, and you have like there's cover between you, but like he's blind firing in your direction. Where does he hit you?
Yeah, let's say like the left shoulder.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a desperate action. So level 3 harm, like shot, unless you want to resist that.
I will resist.
Okay.
That's 2. Okay. 2 and 5.
So you only take 2 stress, and reduce that to a level 2. So probably like winged is probably appropriate. And he can't follow you. So whenever he wipes this away and like he's looking around, we get one of those tense action movie moments where it's like he's pointing a gun and scanning, like cautiously like maneuvering so he can get a shot on you, but he doesn't know where you are. So he is just like patrolling kind of the area, and as villains do, maybe like revealing a little bit of too much information. So he's just like does she even know? Trying to kind of bait you into replying, right? Does the Emperor Wish even know what happened?
I think I'm gonna try to make our getaway here, and I'll mark my last supply to have one of those like noisy Roombas that we had in the previous episode.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
Yep. So I'll try to sneak me and Arya into the other vents.
Mm-hmm. What action are you going to roll for that?
Whisper.
Perfect. Yeah, great effect there, potentially. And this is going to still be risky. Like, he can't see you, so I'm lowering the position a little bit. Improving the position for you a little bit, but still risky. Consequence here being that he will cut you off from escape.
Even on a partial success?
Oh, that's a good point. You're trying to get her out. Well, I think it's you that's going to be cut off, not her. That's the consequence. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because you're just trying to get her out of here, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's the main goal, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will. You know what? I'll push myself for a die.
All right.
Okay, we got a 4.
You boost her up, and just as you're about to jump for it and pull yourself in, he just a barrage of laser blasts essentially come in your direction, and you scatter you away. And he, as you scamper out of the way and back into cover somewhere, he's like, "This is ridiculous." And then he goes to his wrist and he says, I need some backup. And after a moment, there's a pause as he's as you're facing off again, kind of playing cat and mouse, and 2 of those robot dogs walk into the room behind him, and they're gonna join the hunt. So we're gonna flash.
Does one have a missing satellite?
We will see.
All right.
But we're gonna go back to T.E.E.R now for a moment.
Sequa?
Yeah, Sequa, that's a good point too. Do you want to do anything here?
Yeah.
Before we go back to the fight?
I'm gonna keep working on that clock. Let's go. Let's take this place down.
All right, you're trying to check this. It strikes me that Vholt, you were working on getting access to the cameras.
Yeah.
This is almost an extension of that in some ways. In fact, this is almost reaching in more of an action-oriented way, kind of reaching past that a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I think that what I've done could definitely be set up for either of the plans that sound like they're going to come to fruition. Either Sequa's or Kettu's broadcasting. So I think whatever that's appropriate to throw it in, yeah.
Yeah. And anyone, if you haven't spent all your downtime actions at any point, feel free to flash back to do one as well. Since this is still technically downtime-ish in terms of period of time, you don't necessarily have to you probably won't have to spend as much stress as you might normally to do something like that. So huh. That wasn't, for listeners, that wasn't us. That was someone in the background. BDSM helmets, if you want those in your Moth-Light game, that's cool. But not in this one.
Okay, I have a strange idea, and if you need me to flash back to my spare downtime activity, I'm more than happy to do so.
What is your cool idea?
Well, kind of my thought is that maybe what's the guy's name? What's the guard's name that's been here like forever from the stars?
Chiron.
Chiron. Maybe he's been knocking off every single Amber Wish. And maybe they're all trapped in a similar situation like the last one.
That's an interesting theory.
So maybe I can use essentially the tether, the connection from their memorials to essentially get them to come back and start protecting their people. That is their job. This is what they were meant to do.
Is this kind of an extension of taking control of the facility that you've been trying to do?
Yes, I'm going to use all the Ember Wishes, and I think...
That's really cool. You're definitely going to get extra effect for that really cool narrative.
I think I'm going to use my trapping of their real name.
Oh, I like that.
Like, maybe it's essentially like a secret signal or something. Like, it's a sacred name that's passed from Ember Wish to Ember Wish, kind of.
Yeah, take great effect for that. That's a really cool idea.
Okay.
Absolutely. And if you have any way to boost it even just a little bit more, you could get this done in one roll.
I want to use my summoner, so do you have a devil's bargain for me?
Yeah, who are you considering? Are you considering like in this theory, is this like the consciousness of the previous Ember Wishes that is kind of like the demon that you're trying to bargain with here?
Yes.
Okay. The devil's bargain is you need to destroy that library that you were researching in. You need to destroy all that ancient knowledge.
What about instead of destroying the library, Sequa knows that she will have to replace some of that knowledge. Like, essentially, like, the knowledge...
It's not... The bargain is because... I think it's because you're releasing them, and I think that means destroying their shackles, essentially, which is to say them being trapped in these, like, storage devices.
Sure, let's do it.
Okay. Excellent.
They can tell their own history. Don't give me that look, Vholt.
And let me review Summoner here to see what kind of benefits you get. Oh, excellent. Yeah, and so they'll join you as, like, because you're making that bargain, they're actually going to join you for this action. So they're going to, essentially, this is a group action with them. So go ahead and roll an extra die.
Highest was 5.
That will do it.
2 5s and 2 2s.
That will do it, and I'll leave it to you to describe me what kind of dramatic things happen. Obviously, there's some kind of weirdness that happens in the library, but I think it's tangible to people that, like, you've taken control of this facility somehow, and that you've taken control of. Yeah, Danielle, could you mute yourself briefly?
Oh, am I not muted? Fuck, I thought I muted.
You can take control of this facility, but in this moment, like, there is like a gush of, like, essentially these minds that have been digitized taking over this facility for you, right? So they something happens in the library, we see like sparks, and there's just like it's not like it doesn't blow up or whatever, but yeah, go ahead.
I think you see each and every memorial has a sequin on it, and you see Sequa in the room, still trapped in this room
Oh, I see.
that she's in, and she just
prepared for this.
whispers the true name. And you hear the sequence echo that, and as it does, each of the urns or whatever that is just shatters. Like the seal on it shatters.
Yeah, you basically use the memories to like hone in on where their collected knowledge is being stored. And it all leads back to this library where everything's like stored in deep storage, and that's why it gets blown up, ruined, with one exception. The previous Ember Wish's grave, nothing happens to it because that was a false memory. But what we do see, and I'll ask Danielle to unmute themselves here and to give me some input here in a moment, is we do finally get to see where the other seer is right now. Because I think that what you did reaches them. Because as some of us talked about before this episode, we think that we decided that Nomen might be the previous Ember Wish, or at least part of them. So Danielle, would you like to tell me where the previous Ember Wish is at this moment, or the part of you that is closest to them? Are they one of the two dogs that walked in to help Chiron?
I love that, honestly.
Yeah.
Because that's the kind of thing that they would do.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were running around, just kind of checking things out, doing their own thing, and then and then things started happening.
Mm-hmm.
And
I like to think that you just hear Sequa's voice whispering that true name.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, and maybe there is like some visual thing that happens to that particular rope, android, essentially, with maybe the eyes like flashing an odd color or something. And yes, Kettu, you do notice that it is missing a satellite dish.
Okay, great.
So they are going to join the fight on your side, and you see them like they leap on the other dog android.
Hell yeah.
And now it's just you and Chiron again. Are you going to use this moment?
I guess I will. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Going for some, martial arts movie action here. For like I don't know how tall is Chiron.
Let's not super tall. Let's say 6 feet.
All right, it's still a lot.
Medium tall.
Yeah, Kettu's like 5'4" or something.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm just gonna.
I imagine Kettu is fighting like an older Jackie Chan film, like.
Yeah.
With a shocked, maybe even scared look on your face, but you're still like doing cool stuff. Yeah.
Yep. Many opportunities for improvised weapons. Although I have harm here, so I should probably.
You should keep that in. Yeah, you should account for that.
Yeah.
So wing, so less -1d, and yeah, honestly, scrape shoulder is it's going to count anywhere it's in the combat, right? Mm-hmm. So you are in a spot. So your clash is going to have limited effect here, and your position is desperate. What are you going to do?
Yeah. I think I just have to make an opening for Nomen, right?
That sounds right.
And then, the power of teamwork here will solve this.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I will try to nullify his armor.
Right, that's the option you're choosing.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
you have.
That's definitely gonna give you a little bit extra effect here. So you choose that option. Devil's Bargain. He'll ultimately escape. You can catch him later.
All right. That's good anyway. Can't catch the villain on the first try. All right, and I'll push for effect here.
Mm-hmm.
See what happens. All right. Okay, 2 5s and a 3.
He is going to it's a rough exchange. You surprise him, but he doesn't just go down. So would you like to show me what that looks like?
Yeah.
We haven't seen you get as up close and personal with people as with this fight, so I'm interested in what that looks like.
Well, I think it's the a smaller person fighting a larger person. You use their weight against them and dance around them and play tricks. Yeah, I think the armor. Maybe is he wearing actually some armor or?
Actually, yeah, I think he is wearing the equivalent of an armored vest kind of a thing. It's not like Kevlar, it's still in the style of the keepers. He doesn't dress like a future person or whatever, like a predecessor.
Yeah.
But he definitely is wearing the traditional keeper armor, basically.
All right, then I think I'm dancing around punching the I don't know the clasps or whatever, and at the end of it, I hit the last one and it falls off.
That's awesome. Yeah, and you strike out at him and you catch him, but he and he maybe even the gun goes clattering to the side or something like that. Finally, but he fights back, and as you're doing clever stuff, you just have a hand around your wrist briefly, and maybe you look at him in surprise as he twists it, he puts you back in an arm lock kind of a thing, and is starting to kneel on your back. Broken arm is the level 3 harm I'm throwing your way.
Okay. There's. Yeah, I think I just got to take that, right?
That's a rough thing about harm is whenever you're full up, it's hard to resist. Yeah.
All right.
But the good news is you cry out, and just as you think he's not just going to break your arm, he's going to you're going to pass out in pain, he looks to the side and gets swatted by Nomen and goes sliding across the room, and you're catching yourself up off the ground, and look to Nomen maybe surprised that that's what has happened, and when you look back to him, he's running away, and the security doors that are closed to you are not to him. They just open for him and close back up. So if we're gonna catch him, that will be a different scene. Flashing back to T.S.E.E.R, you're in a face-off, and things are clearly happening around you. Maybe lights are flickering. It's I like the idea that it's going into reboot mode slowly. So level by level, lights go off and then come back on, kind of a thing, and things reboot as they come under Sequa's control. Maybe Chiron just missed that, right, as he was leaving. But yeah, so that happens in here, and then when the lights come back on, this individual is rushing towards you. What do you do?
I think that I am going to maneuver to get out of their way.
Yeah. Yeah, use their momentum.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, standard effect. That'll do it.
So...
Do you have any way to push that up to take them out completely?
I have... I'll push myself for effect.
Okay.
And hopefully this doesn't go really badly. 4.
You do it, but there's a fierce exchange. This one is no slouch, and despite your considerable advantages as a machine made of metal, this person puts up quite a fight. I think they keep their distance and like lash out at you with that auger weaponry of yours. Maybe even strip some parts off of you, which is maybe where some level 2 harm comes into play here. Like shattered or something like that. But eventually you grab a hold, you get the upper hand. How do you do it, and how do you end this fight?
I think there is a moment where I think that there's a moment where T.S.E.E.R hears that whisper that's kind of echoing through everything. And like some servos in his interior kind of light up and start whirring really fast.
Yeah.
And he basically goes into like overdrive. And
Superpowered.
And takes this last guard out.
I like it.
Yeah.
Go. I'm marking that off. You take that harm, but at this moment, because I think we're kind of approaching the end, this is also really maybe appropriate for you to complete that clock that's been sitting at 1 tick away from being done. As like memories of who you are and who you were come flooding back to you. And I will let you determine the details of that. But for the audience, I think we'll go with at least what we had, which is like you are an amalgamation of both the Ember Wish and her assistant. Maybe we see like a moment of like our image of Nomen as like this sly male figure, kind of like changing to reflect the previous, like very similar appearance, but maybe the gender kind of shifts or whatever as we kind of remember who we were, and maybe the age or something like that. Your memory that we saw last session kind of is altered to show actual events, which is like the Ember Wish pulling you along and going into that chamber with you, and both of you getting electrocuted and absorbed into the, essentially turned into the operator for T.S.E.E.R. And yeah, suddenly there's silence in the halls. Maybe there are people like wondering what's going on elsewhere in the facility that's locked down. But in this moment, I think maybe Arya stumbles onto the scene just as also the door to Sequa's cell, essentially, is also like shoots open. So everyone is kind of like meeting up again, except minus Kettu at this moment. What do you do? Some of you are in bad condition.
T.S.E.E.R goes to check on Vholt.
Yeah.
I think Vholt is just probably was a bit exhausted from it all. Yeah, it was a real tough fight for me. So, like, he's probably just getting to the point where he's like, hefting this guy off him
Mhm.
and kind of like bringing himself up to his feet. And I think he probably would have been aware, I think, of the going-ons as far as like the technical kind of like malfunctioning stuff going on. And maybe he would have had a chance to be trying to like pull out his remote thing that he was working with. And maybe he caught sight of like Sequa, like doing fishy stuff inside the cell. Sorry, her room. A very normal place to be.
I think it's more like she just comes out like nonchalant, but there's a device or something like floating next to her, kind of a thing. Maybe one or two of those.
Like it.
I think the first thing Sequa's going to do after assessing that Seer is looking after Vholt is trying to find out where Kettu followed him out. And I'm guessing with the connection to the base, I'm guessing that I would know exactly where he is.
I like that. I think that we have stuff to do here as we all reunite, you know. But I have a scene in mind that we'll flash to. That what I'm trying to say is he's not gone. We'll see him. We'll see more of Chiron, and you guys I think will have the upper hand in that. So, but we'll get to that a little later. For now. Like, you've all found out this stuff separately, you know, you've all been doing your own investigations, had your own adventures. Is there anything that like you do to kind of catch each other up or express how you're feeling? Some of you have, you know, gone through crises of faith and then maybe found your way back, that kind of a thing. What's this like in this moment?
I think Sequa looks over at the seer that's the wolf form and just kind of is like, I thought I handled myself pretty well for a princess. What do you say?
Not to say no, but are we advancing time a little bit more? So like so everyone is meeting up? Is that the idea?
I thought they were all in the same hallway, in that same space.
Technically, Kettu and the wolf robot are elsewhere.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay.
We'll say that happens when that happens.
That happens. Yeah, that's another thing that happens later.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I think to keep Sequa from going off right away, Seer enlists her help in helping Vholt up.
Right.
And kind of busies himself with like fussing over Vholt and Volt's injuries. Where he's basically like fussing over Vholt so that he doesn't have to talk about what he just learned.
Vholt, you have taken a mark.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How does this, as you come to, how does this change your personality? What do we see?
So
I'm looking at the mark you took and I love it, but it's an interesting one as far as like what might be obvious to people.
Yeah. So I think this is the first time Vholt has probably run into Sequa since she handed off the note like Vholt expected her not to. So I think there's probably a moment where we're like maybe Sequa's helping me up or whatever, and Volt's kind of like, I guess I owe you an apology, but it doesn't make sense. You seemed so certain that everything was going wrong. Why did you just play into it?
Wow, you must have really knocked your head. Sometimes, Volt, to find the truth, we have to dig a little deeper and to play into little lies. To find out why there are such lies being stated to cover the truth.
Cryptic as usual.
Yeah, perfect. I think Volt kind of, like, I don't know what the expression would be. It's not like a sigh, but like, kind of like some sort of like disgruntled, or like a groan or something maybe, I don't know. Like, listen, Sequa, I'm tired of it, okay? The speakers, the leaders of the New Steel, the council, everybody pretends, they shroud these things as if they're protecting somebody, but who are they protecting? What is this? What is to be gained except for their extorting? And Vholt probably like is maybe a little bit aggressive towards Sequa, insofar as like it, and you, like, you're playing the same games. This isn't what we came here to do. If we're trying to protect people, if this message is so important, and damn it, if we weren't supposed to look at it, then I guess that's all over. But there's no room for games here.
Volt's a bit more indigent than usual, Sequa.
I think Sequa just smiles at him. Now you're beginning to understand the why. You have to realize that others view this as a game. What are they protecting? They're protecting themselves. Nobody knows the truth. Truth is anything that you happen to make it.
Is this all happening while Sequa perhaps is like helping Vholt up from the ground? Like there's hand-to-hand contact, right? Like you're helping Vholt up and then like shouldering him as you're like walking away, kind of a thing. I kind of like maybe that visual, but I wonder if it fits within what you all have in mind.
I don't know if she's like holding his, like taking a lot of his weight. She's not a physical person, but like she's definitely like helping him down the hall. I would say that she's probably between T.S.E.E.R and Vholt. Probably not so much trying to let T.S.E.E.R know that she is also giving T.S.E.E.R support, but like you can tell that I think this is a great way to view her mark of strains. She has two injured people while having a philosophical conversation after something that just happened.
How's Arya?
So, yeah.
I think what Arya does is like catches you up on what happened below. That there was a confrontation that she showed Kettu. She revealed some things to Kettu that she reveals to you, and it's like, we already knew. And she's like, how? Like, that kind of a situation is happening there. And eventually, though, you reunite with Kettu. And I'm not sure. The one thing I'm actually kind of really curious about in this moment, besides if Kettu has anything to say, is T.S.E.E.R, upon reuniting with your other half, I guess, so to speak. What is that like now that your dynamic is like this truth has been fulfilled for you?
So I think as they kind of round the corner and see Kettu and Noman, really, and I think Seer meets Noman's eyes because I'm sure that Noman realizes what's happened.
Yeah.
And like Seer kind of gives a small little nod to indicate like to confirm basically like yes.
Mm-hmm.
And they all make their way over to the two of them, and Seer turns to Noman, the Ember Wish, the old Ember Wish, and kind of like presses his forehead against theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And he whispers, "I remember everything." But probably not so quietly that the others can't hear.
There's like an affectionate, almost like a cat kind of greeting someone, like body language, if that's cool, between the two of you. And from that, Kettu, do you have anything to say before we flash over see what's happening with Chiron?
Kettu, what would Kettu say about this particular interaction, or in general?
Just in general, do you have anything to catch up on with your friends, with the rest of your pact?
I think this Kettu status is you all come in and see Kettu leaning up against the wall, and he mumbles something like, "Shouldn't bring a water balloon to a gunfight,"
Oh, buddy.
He seems very focused. That's all I'll say.
I want to know what Vholt has said in response to what Sequa was saying. She's helping him along the hall.
About games and protecting people's
About
selves?
how truth is anything that you make it to be.
Interesting. I think Volt would probably brush that off kind of indignantly, like it's like that. Maybe he would even go so far as saying like, well, what are you trying to protect? Like, are you afraid of us? Because you're certainly playing games.
My purpose has shifted. Question is, who am I supposed to be speaking for?
Are you having any of Sequa's cryptic games at this point, Vholt? Are you done with that?
Yeah, no. I mean, he was definitely at the point where he was not about that previously. But I think, I think if the conversation continues in that way, you know what I mean. He'll just noisily stomp off, with crutch or whatever. You know what I mean, like crunching metal on whatever flooring is around or whatever.
She'll help him hobble along, but she's not going to press her point. Unless he asks another question. Until they meet up with the rest of the group.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would Sequa know where, I cannot remember his name.
Chiron,
where he's at?
do you, no, but do you ask?
Yes.
Arya looks to you, Kettu, and she says, "I think I know where he's going." Like knowing look. Cut to. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Kettu
Before I
asks,
cut.
does he have a secret layer?
A layer within a layer.
She thinks about it. She's like, yeah, he does. But we've been there. Cut to Chiron running through the forests that we saw earlier up above, and like coming across his old shuttle, entering in some kind of trying to like enter in some kind of code on his keypad. It like doesn't work. He like hits it a couple of times and like it starts to glow and like open up, kind of a thing. And he gets in, but you all are like there already, or soon. You're like there very soon. What do you do?
I like the idea of him walking in and we're already there.
That would be difficult, but yeah, he hasn't like, blasted off yet. But the door has like closed on this shuttle, so there's a barrier between the two of you. It might be hard to get to him, but there is this moment where there's kind of a face-off. He's looking out the cockpit, like at all of you approaching him.
I think Sequa is just gonna look at Kettu and the two Ember Wishes that are with them, and then just be like,
You tell him to give it up.
Shall we bring in the swarm?
Chiron gets on the intercom and says, like, it won't do you any good to take me down. They're coming and you don't have much time.
It'll make me feel better.
Doesn't know how to respond to that. He just like starts typing and stuff on his keypad like quicker.
That's an angry bird.
Yeah. And there is, there maybe is in his statement, there maybe is the question floating in the air of like, yeah, what do you do about the incoming invasion or whatever is happening, whatever the doom is that's coming? What do you do about this?
Future problem. I'm kind of curious, Kettu. I mean, you're probably much more invested in actually taking this guy out or down or something. But I'm curious about if Vholt had offered you or shown you the remote, like the kind of like uplink almost. If you wouldn't have been interested in setting up whatever broadcast you had with Arya, like if that could be the response to him trying to like get away, like he's like, oh, you can't do anything about it, and then like she starts the broadcast or something.
Yeah,
sure.
Well, is the broadcast meant for the citizenry to tell them the truth of what happened?
Yeah.
Or are you simply like essentially planting a bug or a virus in his own machinery so he gets to take that back to his people or whoever he has been in contact with? Sending a message from all the Ember Wishes.
But the think of the why not both kid. Yep,
yeah.
Because I think that would be beautiful. It's essentially, it could be hidden in the broadcast.
Like letting him leave, but he is actually like
he's
the virus.
Yeah, he is the virus.
That's really cool. I like the idea that maybe you had this plan before you arrived here, and in this moment, the Ember Wish kind of steps up and does her thing. Like you all, I think maybe we flash back to moments of conversation on your way here, and she's like, we completed our research, we just didn't remember. It's time to fulfill what we had set out to do. And then here we the wolf comes and sits down, like the dog robot comes and sits down, and it starts to go dim, and you all feel like the Ember Wish kind of pushing her consciousness out into the shuttle, basically, like writing it essentially, before it starts to take off. Let's say she does that, and now the engines are starting to heat up, so there's some rumbling and maybe some movement, that kind of a thing. Is this a moment where you all just kind of watch it go, or do you have any parting words?
I think I have.
Anything you include in the message?
I think just in the meantime I've scrawled on the back of the shuttle, idiot or something.
Beautiful.
I like it. Vholt?
Is it still raining out?
I like the idea maybe it's just cleared up, in a dramatic moment, it's just cleared up here now, so there's sun rays coming down, that kind of a thing in the distance. Yeah.
I think Vholt probably voices maybe we all understand this plan or whatever, the shuttle is supposed to deliver this message, and Vholt says something along the lines of is he going to make it wherever he's going? If the moths have come back, that seems like a awfully juicy morsel.
I think T.S.E.E.R speaks up, and he says, with the Ember Wish on board, he will.
I like that. And if I may, this is maybe the moment that the takeoff happens. It's not quite like a space shuttle, but there's similar thing. It takes off, like a plane, but then it quickly aims up, and we do see some moths raising their heads in the distance to watch it go. And they do follow, as I think maybe that's part of the plan. I think that maybe the ship starts to glow and glow, these lights that were dim start to act like a beacon to draw their attention, and it shoots off, and moths trail behind it essentially into the sky. And when you look on your on the remote control Vholt, you see cameras from outside the Cygnus station catching the ship being chased through space by these creatures, and as it goes on a rendezvous course for whatever craft is coming to meet with Beacon. And maybe that's all we need to see, other than just the nervous face of Chiron as he's looking at the rearview cameras, basically. And we can kind of cut to black here. Normally we'd take a break, but I think we're kind of nearing potentially an ending to our campaign. Are people cool with going to a montage kind of ending phase for our game and then some discussion?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. As part of this, the broadcast changes, and people will kind of know something about what happened, that you came close to some kind of rendezvous, and information will leak out about the nature of what the threat was and what have you, about some segment of humanity with malicious intent trying to rendezvous with you and maybe restart whatever cataclysm was begun, a long time ago. But that didn't happen. Where do we see all of you? Where do you all go after this? Do you rendezvous with the council, etc.? I would love to see from your characters, hear from your characters. Do you return to Fallen Leaf as a group, or do any of you go in your own direction?
I think Vholt has no interest in returning to the council. I think that the Pact still has power, maybe. I imagine we're probably going to mostly break up anyways. But, I think Volt's trust is more immediate rather than, higher powers. So yeah, I don't know how that plays out for other people exactly.
I think that we see Vholt maybe packing his things back into a travel bag or something. Seer appears in the doorway. And he's been extremely quiet. I think at some point he told everybody what he remembered. But he hasn't really said anything beyond that. But he comes to you now, and he says, "You heading out?"
I mean, I don't think the Ember Wish needs us here.
Do you want some company?
I think Vholt would look over his shoulder, and I think the entire adventure probably would put a very new perspective on a lot of things for Vholt. But most especially after T.S.E.E.R would have related the tale of their own creation, essentially. I think it's a very different perspective for Vholt to have, that it's not just a machine. So I think Vholt kind of looks over and is like, yeah. Besides, you probably need somebody to patch you up anyways.
Yeah, you've done a good job so far.
Yeah.
I feel that's kind of sad. I feel like T.S.E.E.R was reaching out to you, and maybe you just kind of brushed it aside.
They've got a long time to travel and talk about that shit.
That's true.
T.S.E.E.R doesn't want to stay at the Ember Wish. So.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons. This is where I died. This is where my conscience was split with another personality. It's a sweet moment, though. Mm-hmm. Those two going off.
T.S.E.E.R does stop by to say a goodbye to Kettu, or ask if Kettu wants to come too, I guess. What is Kettu doing?
Yeah, so we may have to do some flashbacks, but I think Kettu, some different scenes. I think before this, maybe the camera sees Kettu well, I don't know, would you bury the dog body?
Oh, interesting.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like the idea. Maybe there's like a memorial.
But there was
At the
probably like
spot.
some kind of
Yeah.
service, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think there's two things at least before this. Kettu basically demanding that Arya share her memories of the old Emperor Wish.
Oh.
And yeah, the memorial.
That's really sweet.
I don't know if you guys remember the book The Giver, but I love that book.
I've not read it.
Yeah, I haven't read it either. I never had
Oh.
to read it for school.
Yeah, it's relatively short, but this reminds me a lot of it, like memory passing.
Yeah, but yeah, I think you show up and Kettu's like in a arm cast and
Mhm.
only the whole arm, right? His broken arm and shoulder.
Yeah.
This is yeah, I always wanted to see the Rust Deserts,
We could use a guide.
Well, I won't be guiding for a few months, but sure.
I think that's kind of the moment that you see Sequa kind of walk into the scene.
Yeah. There is this interesting question, like, is everyone going to go off in a completely separate direction from you? When Arya, like, actually brings you aside, and I don't necessarily want to have, like, a long conversation, but I think she presents to you the idea that you stay with them here and help them recover and, like, gather up as much of whatever information that was lost as they can, and basically kind of change allegiance a little bit from the council to the Ember Wish herself. But she's kind of offering you a change of like life prospects here.
I think you see that offer being given, and then we kind of flash forward to the memorial that Kettu put together, and Sequa is not alone. Sequa has a different machine that is accompanying her. One of the wolf ones, but this one is a little different. This one is maybe a little bigger, doesn't have the broken satellite, and is painted in almost a sequin-like pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially the bond that Sequa had for that brief moment with all of the Ember Wishes, I think Sequa does accept her offer, but Sequa is going to travel a little bit and share the story of the Ember Wishes. She is going to be the speaker, the oral aspect of their histories and what they have done to help protect humanity for a certain period of time, to help with the broadcast that was given. And so this machine that is with Sequa is what she essentially, her facsimile of essentially a melding of all the Ember Wishes.
Yeah. I think in a way you're kind of continuing the work that the previous Ember Wish was working on, right? Mm-hmm. Of like, recreating an artificial intelligence of some kind.
Exactly. Right? A living library, so to speak. A living breath.
Well.
Yeah. And that you kind of just see them, like Sequa standing at the memorial with this machine, and then walking up to Kettu and kind of like putting her arm around him and be like, well, you'll get into trouble without me. What do you say? I'll be heading that direction for a little bit.
Yeah. We can always actually I think gets out as usual, gets out a squeaky toy and hands you. It's like, you can only come along. You squeak this.
No, you need to give it to the Ember Wish dog.
Yes. You need
And
to
I-
teach it to play fetch.
And I think Sequa just kind of like holds it and then looks at Kettu and then looks over at Vholt
Dogbot.
with this wonderful sly smile and is like, I don't know, Vholt. What do you think? Do you think an owl is faster than a dog? You hear this squeak as she tosses it.
I feel like this is going to be a lot easier without you being officially in charge, Sequa. no offense. Probably get along a lot better.
Oh yeah.
This time around.
I think Sequa will kind of like be with them for a certain period of time, but they'll eventually go their separate ways. Maybe she can convert Vholt on the way with more aspects of knowledge or conversation. Who knows?
And I like that maybe we get eventually a shot. You know, time passes. You leave this spot. We see a memorial erected for the Ember Wish. Maybe kind of in like a hokey kind of space shuttle-y kind of a shape where it used to stay, where it used to have been kind of a thing, with the dog body just sitting there looking on at it. And the danger doesn't come to pass. Nothing arrives. And it's kind of no one gets to kind of experience, gets to know firsthand what it is they would have been protected from, but that was probably a good thing. So tell me, y'all, one thing I always like to ask a question at the end of any Moth-Light campaign is, if we did a season 2, the events don't have to be related to this in any way. What kind of like problem would you think that your characters would get up to? What kind of big story moments would they undergo, or trials would they go through that you think would be fun to explore?
I feel like Kettu is going to dig something up they're totally unprepared for.
Yeah.
Opening
one of
up
your
the
explorations.
proverbial Pandora's box.
Yeah, just a Pandora's box kind of a thing. I like that. Well, Vholt.
I was going to say something along the lines of, I feel like in this situation, in this like collective world we have, that's kind of housed in Moth-Light, the idea of beacon, but it can be a great number of things depending on like the individual table and everything. But I definitely feel like pretty consistently the sense of like disconnect between the different like clans or groups of people living on Beacon. They might be related, or they might have common goals and stuff like that. So I think Vholt would probably get into trouble trying to like essentially find people along the lines of like speakers who appear to be like manipulating groups of people in a way that he does not approve of.
Support a New Steel rebellion against a corrupt speaker.
Right.
I like that.
Essentially trying to put maybe even a new council in that is more working across the different peoples.
Are they like the big bad of the second season? They were the impetus for you protecting the world, but now they're the big bad.
Now we talk too much.
Right.
Or know too much.
Mm-hmm.
You looked at the scroll, okay?
Yeah, you looked at the scroll. You're on trial, fighting against a corrupt system.
It's like, listen, I didn't look at the scroll, okay? It was the only one.
I think
I ate the scroll.
Sequa,
That's right.
he did eat it at some point. will be reburied somewhere.
That's a loose end.
That is. I think Sequa is going to
Yeah.
continue with her Ember Wish facsimile that's going on. And then probably ends up getting into some pretty big trouble with trying to heal other machines.
Yeah, like healing the infected, corrupted, machine intelligences throughout Beacon.
Yeah.
I could see that being a big plot point. That maybe that takes you down to the New Steel clan, right? Like trying to find some place to broadcast that signal throughout the planet, and that's where we run into all that stuff. That's really cool.
I think coming across some very big demons, so to speak, would definitely, or a demon that is controlling others,
Absolutely.
would probably be a big plot point there.
Ooh, I have just the one. Seriously. There's one of the starter adventures, starter situations for that's suggested for folks. It might not be in the current version, but in a previous version was about an entity called True Steel that was a demon that set itself up as essentially like a speaker or a leader of the New Steel clan. So that would be kind of a fun one to run up against. Excellent.
Did we hear from T.S.E.E.R? Sorry to interrupt. I don't think we did.
I do want to. We did a little bit. Yeah, T.S.E.E.R, what do you?
In a
what's
second
your thing?
season, T.S.E.E.R would try to find a way off world.
Oh, really? I like that.
I think a part of him was almost not disappointed, but sad. A part of him was definitely sad when I envision like everyone sitting around the campfire, like with the data pad and watching the clock tick down to like the 0 point, and nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at that point, T.S.E.E.R decides that he has to go out to find the Ember Wish if she's
I
not
love the idea of the second season ending in like a weird repeat of like some kind of ship or something, like blasting off, right? But it's the opening to the next season where T.S.E.E.R goes to space, and we see what the hell is up with the other humans that exist out there that are maybe in some corrupt empire or something. Yeah, that's really cool. Spin-off series.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Don't forget dragging Vholt off to space because you need somebody to repair you.
Oh yeah.
We could just have sweet characters from the corrupt human faction out there. T.S.E.E.R finds them.
Well, you know how those spin-offs work is it's like a smattering of everyone's favorite characters, whether they were the main characters or not, but now they're the main characters.
Oh yeah.
We just see Lemon out there.
Yeah.
Egg.
There's one of those big lizards for some reason.
This time, instead of having control of like a stadium's light system, he has an entire billboard on the side of a ship.
Yep, 100%.
Oh yeah.
Well, I can tell you all love this kind of science fiction as much as me, because those are all great ideas. And great examples of the kind of stories you could tell in a Moth-Light game. And I hope that everyone got a better idea for that during the course of our campaign. It was a lot of fun. And you all are great players, as of course you are, being part of the Blades in the Dark Discord channel. So,
you were great GM.
Thank you. So that's a wrap on our campaign. It looked like we only got to 5 episodes, but that's great because that means that we can make room for some other great shows that I know are in the works right now. Nichelle, is it true that ECB is the next one?
Yes.
External Containment Bureau?
They are going to be starting here on the 29th. I don't know if that is going to be the first episode or not. They're going to do a session 0 and everything. So stay tuned. There should be a new series coming out here in the next couple of weeks. And then after that, we have quite a few systems and whatnot that are going to be played. I know we have Corda Blades, we have a Vanilla Blades campaign, and like so many others that are lining up to be played. So definitely stay tuned.
Fantastic. I'm really looking forward to that. This is my time to plug, so I might as well say that I actually was a co-designer on External Containment Bureau. I did some early design work and the visual design for the zine that's going to be released soon. I also release games at moth-lands.itch.io, and you can follow me on Twitter at mothlands.
And I am Nichelle. You can find me on Twitter at mistletoe-t-rex or mistletoekiss.itch.io. And I also write content for such games. I wasn't on ECB, but I am currently writing some stuff for a few other games and such. You can find more information of past projects or hire on voidalspace.com. And I'll give a little plug for the Discord server. It's the official Blades in the Dark Discord. We have a wonderful community of people there with lovely designers such as who are here playing wonderful Moth-Light by Justin. And yeah, come join us. We're a loving community, and we have fun creating games.
All right, I'm Mike, or Esker. You can find my blog at esker.dev, games at esker.itch.io. Got lots of Blades things, Force in the Dark things. In August, I'm hosting a Forge in the Dark jam. It's called Lessons from the Dark, and it's about sharing experiences about running Forge in the Dark games. So like GM, player advice, play techniques, common mistakes, how to avoid them. Maybe you use other games before you run Forge in the Dark games, like world building, whatever. Changes you made to the game. Like I will probably write a blog post about running an open table. So I invite you all to join that, and you can find that at itch.io/jam/lessons-from-the-dark.
I'll have it in our show notes, everyone.
Yeah.
And then I'm Travis, and I also make a limited amount of content, but we're working on that. And I can be found at Octosplosion on Twitter, itch.io, and DMs Guild. I know we mentioned that the Blades Discord is super fun, but it is also a great resource to find past jams, because Justin also had hosted the Unusual Suspects jam, which you can easily find through the Blades Discord, and has a ton of really fun content for base Blades, just to mix it up or add cool things. And I'm sure that we'll probably have more jams than we do right now as things keep going, which is really cool because it's a fun way to make small projects. If you're not so sure about how to do things, get involved as other people are doing it, and just enjoy the creation of games as much as most people enjoy playing them.
And I've been Danielle. You can find me on the internet at RedtailTalk90. You can find the games that I write at redtailtalk90.itch.io, including my own Forge in the Dark hack, Idiot Teenagers with a Death Wish, which is Animorphs-inspired hack. You can listen to an actual play of that game on Dumb Kids Playing Hero, which is at DKPHpod on Twitter. And if you like Se.E.E.R. and you want to see more of Se.E.E.R., check out my home podcast, The Room Where It Happened. Season 1 was a cyberpunk fantasy noir thing. That one's over now. We're just finishing up our second season, which is the Fast and the Furious, but space cowboys, but in Appalachia. So, you know, if that seems like your style. And as always, you can check out the other projects that I'm a part of with the Podcasting Guild, Standing Stones, which you can find on Twitter at @stones_standing.
Thank you, Danielle, and everyone else. As I said before, you were all a great bunch of players, and it was awesome to be able to share Moth-Light with folks. This is definitely going on my Moth-Light webpage for people to check out, because it's a really good example of what the game can be. Thank you, and I'm going to try my best to complete this game over the next year. I have other obligations, and it's going to be a very difficult promise to keep to, but look for it soon. In the meantime, you can get a relatively complete version of it right now.
And thank you so much for being such a wonderful and enabling GM.
The best kind, truly.
If there's anything I want to be known as, it's an enabler. All right. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you next week? Or sometime in the future.
Yeah, end of the
Michelle,
month.
when is the next game starting?
I think on the 29th, but that maybe their session 0. But stay tuned, folks.
Yeah.
There will be another system in the next few weeks, and they will announce it. But
Follow
until
the Twitter.
next,
Yeah,
exactly.
Twitter.
Follow the Twitter. But until then, this has been Hacked in the Dark. Thank you so much, folks.
See you, everybody.
Right.